I got 3 really fantastic roundtable conversation topics that are supported by evidence and research rather than just by a whim, which is kind of cool. They're gonna go past, present, and future. We'll unpack each so that you can choose one or multiple and lead it at your next event, conference, summit, symposium, all staff, and have some really good conversations and form some lasting connections. I'm Chad Littlefield. I actually get to do this for a living with some of the smartest leaders and educators on the planet. Let's get into it. I was inspired to build out this video by a really cool LinkedIn post of somebody who shared this connection before content exercise she did with a bunch of very senior leaders, and I'm blanking on her name right now. And basically the question was, what was your first job? And she shared a sticky note, and these are senior leaders in an organization, and she had each of them write their first job on a sticky note. But the magic of this is that she harnessed the power of what I call the magic of the second question. Which is, okay, what's one of your first jobs? That's cool, like they're gonna connect over that. But what made a really fun roundtable is, and what did that job teach you about how you can be a better leader now? Or what did that job teach you about how to be a better boss, right? That second question takes this like real life, visceral first job experience and then warps it right up into, now what do we do with that application for the group? The other hidden magic embedded in this exercise, and I think the reason why it worked so well for her, is that it embeds empathy. Because the empathy for these senior leaders is actually, oh, right, I'm leading people and some of those people this is their first job, right? This is their first job, so that in 20 years when they're in my position, they're gonna write on a sticky note, this job. And what experience am I giving to that person in that moment? Am I living out and practicing what I knew would have made a better boss back then? So my tweak for this, that I think is a little bit more inclusive, is this question. What is the best, worst, or funniest job you ever had? Inclusive because it opens it up a little bit more. You could add first in there as well if you wanted to, but best, worst, or funniest gets lots of really good conversation going. The reason I like best, worst, and funniest, and from a research perspective, you get highs and lows of emotion. People remember stories that have some emotional attachment. And so when you get some of the best stories and some of the worst jobs and some of the funniest, people are laughing, feeling, smiling, right? And all of that, the process of that question is really good for the human brain. Now, you have to apply the magic of the second question. And personally, when I'm facilitating like a round table discussion, if I've got people in table discussions, or ideally groups of 3 to 4. So if you're in a conference with a 10 top round table, I want to split that up into smaller groups of 3 to 4 to have a more intimate conversation. About 5 minutes in, I'll say, all right, everybody pause real quick. I want to add just a second question to take these discussions from where they are and drop it down a little bit. What is one thing that you're hearing that you feel like could be applied right now in your world? So you're taking this past experience and pulling it up to the present. The second roundtable discussion prompt, I really love. I love actually using this question one-on-one. It's one of my favorite questions currently. And that is, what is taking up lots of your brain space right now? It's an amazing way to invite a group to be present. And as you're thinking about starting off an event or beginning with connection before content, saying, hey everybody, welcome. We've got an amazing agenda packed, but before we get started with any of that, you all just came from different states, countries, flights, days, etc. What I would love to do is just ask you to jump into a conversation with 2 or 3 other people nearby and answer the question, what is taking up lots of your brain space right now? And my intention, and this is important, as I'm framing and facilitating a roundtable discussion, I wanna be really clear about my intent. I don't wanna just say, hey everybody, welcome, get into conversations about what is taking up lots of your brain space right now. Rather, I wanna say my intention for launching you into these conversations is for all of us to actually fully arrive so that we can all begin the summit together. Bonus points if you want to go deep with this one. I would, my definition of belonging, and Merriam and Webster might slightly disagree with me, but my definition is seeing, hearing, understanding, and accepting people for who they are and who they are not. And so if I want to take this a whole lot deeper, if your audience is ready for that, and not all are, but if your group's ready for that, You might say, halfway through, pause and say, hey, just as you're exchanging stories and listening here, would invite you to reflect back who this person is through this story, right? Who are you seeing this person be in what they're telling you? If that's a little too heady for you, don't worry, just skip to number 3. It's very, very tactical. So we've traveled the past, present, future. What is something you'd like to do more of? I am absurdly on about this idea right now that human beings literally have the power to talk our way into tomorrow. When you look at like the trajectory of somebody's life, their career, their family, like you could actually trace it back to a series of conversations that they had with people that led them to where they are, right? They did not do it in isolation. And so the power for that is when you have a gathering and a roundtable discussion, you can actually, if you get the right prompt, you can have people talk their way into action. And so the reason I like this question specifically, what is something you'd like to do more of? This is a personal aha. I had hired this coach to work with me and push some of my own thinking and ideas a little bit. And he asked me this question, what is something you'd like to do more of? And I answered scuba diving. I realized like I identify as a scuba diver. I got certified when I was 12 years old, used to scuba dive for lobster in Massachusetts, digging under rocks. And yet, I have not gone scuba diving in 3.5 years. And so this question brought that to my awareness and my attention. And it turns out when we become aware about something, we actually have more choice over it. And so since he's asked me this question, this was a couple months ago, I've connected with a local dive shop, somebody I swim with in the mornings. I also found out as a diver. He knows somebody who goes to a quarry every Saturday. Like, I've talked my way into tomorrow. I haven't gone diving yet, so I have to admit that, but I'm getting very close, and it was actually all sparked by a simple question. And so when you ask a group to unpack this, what is something you'd like to do more of? And you can add a tag onto the end. What is something you'd like to do more of related to, and then insert the purpose or the topic of your discussion. You give people an amazing platform to create and craft their own future, which is a pretty cool way to spend a little chat. Super crazy cool piece of research to add on to this. There's a study done where they're trying to get people to sign up to become organ donors. And this is a pretty high commitment in terms of like getting participation from somebody. So they had people just walking down the street and say, tap, 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 hey, want to become an organ donor? And then they took the rate of people that were saying yes, which if you're saying yes to that, to a stranger on the street, like bold move, I appreciate it. But most people did not. For the test groups testing different interventions, they had people take 3 different surveys of varying lengths, a 20-question survey, a 15-question, and a 5-question survey on organ donation, about organ donation. It turns out that just asking somebody, would you take this 5-question survey on organ donation? Lots of people said yes, right? The risk is very low, it's not a big commitment. At the end of that, they said, would you like to become an organ donor? Vastly more people said yes to becoming organ donors after filling out a 5-question survey. We're traveling outside the land of science slightly here, but if we extrapolate that a bit, when you ask questions to people about multiple things and you get their prefrontal cortex, their brain actually thinking and reasoning and wondering and being curious and sharing about a particular idea, you actually increase the likelihood that something will happen. There's been some really crazy research that Will and I wrote down and asked powerful questions about just asking people about their intent to buy a car increases the chance that they will in the next 6 months. So questions like these prompts are really powerful, right? They move us in a lot of ways. To help move your group, one more bonus question for sticking around. And if you want a whole bunch of fun roundtable topics and prompts and cool icebreakers that aren't terrible, eye-rolling, cringeworthy, you could scan this QR code if you're on a desktop. If you're not, it's in the link in the description. Have an awesome day.